Have you ever wondered why the ancient Greeks told stories of love that could conquer death? And tragedies so heartbreaking they still echo across centuries? Myths where beauty meets betrayal, where hope is born from despair, and where even gods themselves are swept away by desire and grief. Tonight, we journey into the shadows and the light of Greek mythology, where love and tragedy are inseparable, where every embrace might carry the seeds of sorrow, and every sorrow might give birth to timeless legend. Welcome, traveler. You have crossed the threshold of time and entered a world of gods, heroes, and mortals whose passions shape destiny itself. Tell me, where are you watching from? Is it morning in your city as the sun rises on another day? Or is it late at night, with the world around you quiet, and only the voice of the past whispering in your ear? Wherever you are, and whatever the hour, this is your moment to step into a realm where myth becomes memory, and memory becomes eternal story. This is love and tragedy in Greek mythology, Orpheus, Pandora, and more. Let us begin with the very first woman. Pandora, the first woman and the tragedy of curiosity. Long before mortal kings built their palaces, before heroes carved their names into eternity, there was Pandora. Her story is not merely about love or sorrow. It is about humanity itself, and the fragile line between hope and despair. The gods, after the titan Prometheus had stolen fire from Olympus and gifted it to mankind, grew wrathful. Zeus, the thunder-wielding king of the heavens, desired vengeance, not swift and brutal, but subtle, cruel, and enduring. He would not strike men down with lightning. No, he would give them a gift that was a curse wrapped in beauty. He commanded Hephaestus, the divine craftsman, to sculpt a woman, not from clay as Prometheus had made man, but from the very breath of the gods themselves. Each Olympian bestowed upon her a quality: beauty from Aphrodite, cunning words from Hermes, grace from the Carides, skill from Athena, and a touch of longing from every god who watched her take form. She was radiant, flawless, enchanting. She was Pandora. But the gods are not generous without cost. Into her hands was placed a jar, later called a box by poets, sealed yet heavy with secrets. Zeus whispered, "This is your dowry, beautiful one, a gift from mankind." When Pandora descended to earth, men marveled at her. Epimetheus, the foolish brother of wise Prometheus, welcomed her without hesitation, ignoring his brother's warnings never to accept gifts from Zeus. Love, or perhaps desire, clouded his mind. He brought her into his home, and with her came the jar. Days passed, then weeks. The jar sat in silence, mysterious, irresistible. Pandora's heart wrestled with a fire she could not quench. Curiosity. What lay within? Was it treasure? Wisdom? A secret meant to be revealed? One night, unable to bear the weight of wonder, Pandora unsealed the jar, and from it burst forth nightmares. Disease, hunger, greed, jealousy, war. All the agonies that would forever scar the lives of men. They poured out like shadows across the earth, never to be returned. Humanity, once untouched by pain, was shackled by suffering. Pandora, horrified, tried to close the jar. And as she slammed the lid shut, a faint voice whispered from within. She opened it just enough to see what remained. It was not plague, nor sorrow, nor betrayal. It was Elpis Hope. Alone among the horrors, Hope stayed trapped inside, forever accompanying mankind through misery. Was it mercy that Hope remained, or was it Zeus's final cruelty, leaving men forever yearning for what they could never fully hold? Thus begins the saga of love and tragedy in Greek myth. Not with a kiss, nor a broken heart, but with a woman whose beauty carried the weight of doom, and whose choice unleashed both despair and the faint glimmer of comfort. Orpheus and Eurydice. Love stronger than death. From Pandora's tale of sorrow born from curiosity, we move to a story where love itself dares to defy the power of death. It is the tale of Orpheus, the greatest musician to ever walk the earth, and Eurydice, his beloved. Orpheus was not a warrior like Achilles, nor a king like Agamemnon. His gift was song. With a lyre in his hands, he could tame wild beasts, calm raging rivers, and even soften the hearts of gods. His melodies were not merely notes. They were threads of harmony woven into the fabric of existence. When he met Eurydice, a maiden of surpassing grace, his music found its muse. They wed, their love blazing bright as any torch in Olympus. But fate, ever cruel, struck swiftly. As Eurydice walked through a meadow, a serpent bit her ankle. She fell, breath fading, life fleeing. The grass drank her blood, and the earth claimed her. Orpheus's grief was unbearable. He sang, but now his songs were dirges, cries of agony that made trees weep and stones crack. He could not accept her loss. So he resolved to do what no mortal dared: descend into Hades, the realm of the dead, and bring her back. With only his lyre, he crossed rivers of shadow, passed the gates of despair, and entered the land of souls. Cerberus, the three-headed hound, bared its fangs, but Orpheus played, and the beast lay silent, lulled by music. The judges of the dead, Minos, Rhadamanthus, Aeacus, listened, and for the first time their stern faces softened. Even the Furies, born of vengeance, shed tears. Finally, he came before Hades, stern lord of the underworld, and Persephone, queen of shades. Orpheus sang not of power, nor of rebellion, but of love. He sang of mornings with Eurydice, of laughter under trees, of the unbearable emptiness left by her absence. His voice trembled, but his melody pierced the gloom. Persephone, moved, whispered to her husband, and Hades, unyielding though he was, gave a rare gift. Eurydice could return, but there was one condition. Orpheus must walk ahead of her, never looking back until they both stood beneath the sun. Joy surged within him. He led her upward, step by step, through darkness. He could hear her footsteps behind him, faint, fragile, but real. Yet doubt gnawed at him. What if the gods deceived him? What if she was not truly there? Every echo made his heart pound. The light of the world above drew near. He could see the mouth of the cave. One more step, and they would be free. But in that final moment, overcome by fear and longing, Orpheus turned. Eurydice's eyes met his, full of love, full of sorrow, as her form dissolved into shadow. Her last words were a whisper, "Farewell." And she was gone, drawn back into the darkness forever. Orpheus cried out, but it was too late. He had lost her a second time, and this loss was eternal. He tried again to enter the underworld, but the gods, unmoved now, barred the way. He returned to the world of men, his music forever mournful. In every note of his lyre, people heard not joy but tragedy, not triumph but longing. His songs became laments for all lovers who had ever lost, for all hearts that had ever broken. And so, Orpheus became a symbol that love can challenge death, but cannot always defeat it. That tragedy, even in its cruelty, can create beauty eternal. This section will move deeper into myths of passion, obsession, and tragic love, featuring Pygmalion and Galatea, Narcissus, and Phaedra and Hippolytus. From the sorrow of Orpheus and Eurydice, the Greeks turned their gaze to other tales, stories not only of loss, but of love so consuming it blurred the line between reality and illusion, devotion and destruction. Pygmalion and Galatea, love that breathed life. In the shining city of Cyprus lived a sculptor named Pygmalion. He was a man of great talent, whose chisel could carve marble into forms so lifelike they seemed to breathe. Yet for all his skill, he held no love for women of flesh and blood. The women he knew, he thought, were flawed, vain, or cruel. None met the image of perfection that lingered in his imagination. So Pygmalion turned away from mortals and instead poured his passion into stone. From a block of ivory, he he carved a figure of unmatched beauty, a maiden so delicate, so graceful, she seemed touched by the hand of the gods themselves. Her skin shone smooth as pearl, her lips curved like the faintest smile. Her eyes, though unseeing, seemed filled with quiet depth. Day after day, Pygmalion labored, and when the statue was complete, he gazed upon it not as an artist upon his work, but as a man upon his beloved. He dressed her in fine robes, adorned her with jewels, laid roses at her feet. At night he whispered to her, spoke of dreams, pressed kisses upon unyielding ivory lips. He named her Galatea. The people whispered of his madness, but Pygmalion did not care. His heart belonged to Galatea. When the festival of Aphrodite, goddess of love, came, Pygmalion entered the temple with trembling hands. He lit incense, he prayed upon his knees, and he whispered a plea not for gold, not for glory, but for this: grant me a bride like my statue, or bring life to her form. Aphrodite, moved by such devotion, smiled upon him. That night, when Pygmalion returned to his workshop, he laid his hand upon Galatea's cheek, and he felt warmth. He pressed his lips to hers, and for the first time, the kiss was returned. The ivory softened into flesh. The marble heart began to beat. Galatea opened her eyes, radiant and alive. Love had crossed the boundary between art and life. The myth of Pygmalion endures because it speaks to a truth within us all. We long to shape the world to our desire, to breathe life into our dreams. But it also warns of the dangers of obsession, when love is not shared but sculpted, when devotion risks becoming illusion. Still, in this story, the Greeks offered a rare ending, not of tragedy, but of miracle, or even stone could awaken to love. Narcissus, the tragedy of self-love. If Pygmalion shows the power of devotion, the tale of Narcissus reveals the peril of vanity. Narcissus was a youth of extraordinary beauty, a boy whose face drew sighs from maidens and whose presence kindled desire in both men and women. Yet Narcissus, proud and cold, spurned them all. No heart could reach his. She saw Narcissus in the forest and loved him, but when she tried to speak, she could not form her own pleas. She could only echo his voice. "Who's there?" Narcissus called. There," she answered. "Come to me," he said. To me," she replied. When at last she revealed herself, arms outstretched in longing, Narcissus recoiled. "I would rather die than let you have me," he said cruelly. Echo, heartbroken, withered away until only her voice remained, haunting valleys and cliffs. But Nemesis, goddess of retribution, saw Narcissus's pride. She lured him to a clear pool of water. There, leaning over the surface, Narcissus saw a vision so beautiful it struck him like lightning. A face more perfect than any he had ever seen. A gaze that returned his own. A smile that answered his smile. He reached to touch it, but the water rippled. The image vanished. Again, he leaned closer. Again, he saw it. Again, it fled. Day after day, Narcissus remained at the pool, transfixed, unable to tear himself away from the reflection. He wept for the love he could not embrace, not realizing it was his own. His body weakened, hunger gnawed, but he would not leave. In the end, Narcissus wasted away. Where his body fell, a flower bloomed, white petals with a golden heart, bending over streams as though still gazing into its own image. The Narcissus flower remains, a symbol of vanity, obsession, and the tragedy of a love that looks only inward. Phaedra and Hippolytus, desire and destruction. If Narcissus shows the ruin of self-love, the tale of Phaedra and Hippolytus reveals how passion misdirected can destroy not only the heart but entire families. Hippolytus was the son of Theseus, king of Athens. Unlike many men of Greece, Hippolytus turned away from women and from love itself. He worshipped only Artemis, virgin goddess of the hunt, and he scorned Aphrodite, goddess of desire. To Aphrodite, such contempt was intolerable. so she devised a cruel vengeance. She struck Phaedra, wife of Theseus and stepmother of Hippolytus, with forbidden passion. Phaedra fought against it, tormented by shame, but the flame would not die. Her heart burned with desire for the young man who would never return it. At last, Phaedra confessed her anguish to her nurse. The nurse, hoping to ease her mistress's suffering, revealed the secret to Hippolytus. But the young man recoiled in horror and disgust. He cursed Phaedra's passion and threatened to expose her. Humiliated, terrified, and consumed by despair, Phaedra chose death. But before she died, she left a letter accusing Hippolytus of violating her. When Theseus discovered her lifeless body and read the accusation, his grief turned to rage. He cursed his son, calling upon Poseidon to punish him. As Hippolytus rode his chariot along the shore, a monstrous bull sent by the sea god rose from the waves. The horses panicked, the chariot crashed, and Hippolytus was dragged to his death. Only when his son lay broken did Theseus learn the truth, that Hippolytus had been innocent and that Aphrodite's vengeance had destroyed them all. The tale of Phaedra and Hippolytus reminds us that in Greek myth, passion is not merely a flame to warm the heart. It is a fire that can consume, a force both divine and dangerous, capable of toppling kings and shattering families. This final section will carry through the darker extremes of love and vengeance with Medea, the doomed romance of Hero and Leander. From forbidden desire and shattered families, we turn now to one of the most infamous women in all of Greek mythology, a sorceress whose love was as fierce as fire and whose betrayal turned that same fire into a weapon of vengeance. Medea, love that burns, vengeance that destroys. When Jason set sail on the Argo to claim the Golden Fleece, he could not know that his fate would be bound not only to gods and monsters, but to a woman whose passion would shape his destiny. Medea was the daughter of King Ates of Colchis, granddaughter of the sun god Helios, and a priestess trained in sorcery. When Jason arrived, a stranger from across the sea, Medea's heart was pierced by Eros's arrow. Love, sudden, consuming, irresistible, took hold of her. She aided Jason in every trial. She gave him ointments to shield him from fire, spells to tame raging bulls, counsel to outwit her father. With her help, Jason seized the Golden Fleece. And when he fled, Medea abandoned her home, betrayed her family, and joined him. Her love was absolute. Together, they faced perils, outwitted kings, and carved a path back to Greece. But love, in Greek myth, is seldom rewarded. In Iolcus, Jason sought his rightful throne, but King Peleus refused to yield. Medea, cunning and ruthless, tricked Peleus' daughters into killing him, believing her sorcery could restore him. Instead, they left him in pieces. Jason and Medea were exiled, wandering again. Years passed. They bore children. But Jason, weary of struggle, grew ambitious. In Corinth, he betrayed Medea, casting her aside to wed the Princess Glauce, daughter of King Creon. Jason sought power. Medea was discarded. But a woman who had given up everything, her home, her family, her honor, would not be silenced. Love twisted into fury. Betrayal forged vengeance. On the day of Jason's new wedding, Medea sent Glauce a gift, a robe woven with poison. When the princess donned it, flames consumed her flesh. Creon, rushing to save his daughter, was caught in the fire and perished with her. But Medea's revenge did not end there. In her most infamous act, she turned against her own children, the children she had borne to Jason. Some say she killed them with her own hand. Others say the Corinthians slew them in anger. But all accounts agree. Jason was left broken, his line destroyed, his heart shattered beyond repair. Medea fled in a chariot drawn by dragons, given to her by her grandfather Helios. She vanished into myth, a figure both feared and pitied. Her story is the darkest warning the Greeks ever told of love betrayed. Love can inspire loyalty, sacrifice, even miracles. But when betrayed, it can become the most destructive force of all. Hero and Leander. Love across the waves. From Medea's flames, we drift now to the shores of the Hellespont, where another tale unfolds, not of betrayal, but of devotion so pure it braved the sea itself. Hero was a priestess of Aphrodite, living in a tower by the strait. Leander was a youth from across the waters. When they met at a festival, their hearts were joined at once. But Hero was bound by her vows, and their love had to remain secret. Each night, Leander swam across the dark, perilous waters to reach her tower. Hero, standing at her window, lit a lamp to guide him through the waves. Night after night, he braved the current, his strokes carrying him toward her embrace. Their love was fragile, forbidden, but steadfast. But one night, as storms raged and winds howled, the lamp was extinguished. The sea grew black, the waves merciless. Leander struggled, but the current dragged him down. His body washed upon the shore at dawn. When Hero saw him lifeless, her grief was unbearable. She leapt from her tower into the sea, joining him in death. The story of Hero and Leander was whispered along the coasts of Greece for centuries. It was a reminder that love demands courage, that passion may demand sacrifice, and that even the strongest devotion cannot always defy the elements of fate. Closing reflections, love and tragedy, eternal. From Pandora's fateful choice to Orpheus's doomed song, from Pygmalion's miracle to Narcissus's obsession, from Phaedra's ruin to Medea's vengeance, and the quiet sorrow of Hero and Leander. These myths endure because they speak to what it means to be human. Love in Greek mythology is never simple. It uplifts, it destroys. It inspires, it terrifies. It binds the mortal to the divine and leaves both trembling. And tragedy, far from being mere sorrow, is the vessel through which meaning is revealed. The Greeks knew that love is the most powerful force in the world, not because it conquers all, but because it reveals all. Our hope, our weakness, our courage, our despair. Traveler, your journey through these myths now comes to an end. But the stories linger, whispering across time, waiting for you to carry them forward. If these tales of love and tragedy stirred your heart, then let your voice be heard. Strike the lyre of the modern age. Leave a comment below and tell us which story touched you most. Cast your offering upon the altar of the algorithm. Press like so that these myths may rise again. And if you would walk with us further through the realms of gods and heroes, then swear your oath. Subscribe and join our fellowship of seekers. For the past is never silent. It waits for those who will listen. Until next time, may your path be guided by hope, tempered by wisdom, and guarded from the tragedies of the ages.